Hello and a really big warm welcome to this presentation from the Urban Penguin. My name is Andrew Mallett, and in today's presentation we're going to go through and look at creating a quote of the day client in Python. Previously we had set up our systemd socket to deliver quotes of the day, but by using netcat, our traditional command line client, we have to use a Control-C when we're finished. By using Python we can have it collect the quote and then automatically close afterwards. Come on, let's go through and take a look at this.
And a big warm welcome back to our Pixel Playground, a playground that is enveloped in Rocky 9.3. Now previously we had shown how we can use systemd sockets to be able to create a quote of the day network service, and we were connecting to it using netcat. So we can see then with netcat localhost to port 17 we get then our quote coming back. However, the downside of this simple client is that we have to use Control and C to be able to jump out of it. So if we want to grab multiple quotes, we've got to remember to do our Control and C. Now, whilst this is okay for testing, if we wanted to deploy this, it's not really going to be working. So this is where, even as a Linux administrator, getting to know something about Python can be really useful. So we're going to look at creating a really simple Python script that we can use then to connect to our quote of the day service. Now I'm just using Vim, but you're happy to use any editor that you want. I'm just going to call it qotd.py, and we know the first thing that we're going to put into any script is going to be the shebang. So we can go through and put /usr/bin, but we'll check the environment. So using the environment command, we can check the path through to our Python interpreter. So if we're running in a virtual environment, we will pick up Python from the virtual environment. Now let me just escape out of this and set my background to be dark, just so we get a better syntax highlighting. We can then go through and let Python do a lot of the work by importing a module. So I'm going to import the socket module, and that's going to do a lot of my networking stuff for me. We're going to create ourselves our own little function. We can call it anything we want, but here we're calling it get_qotd, and we can pass two parameters through to this, the host and the port. We then start navigating our way into this. So we can go through and then work with our socket module. And inside of the socket module, we're navigating down to socket and socket.af_inet to say that we're creating an IP version 4 connection. And we're going to set our socket.sock_stream, and we can set this so we're using TCP. So this is just defining that we can use IP version 4 to create a TCP connection, and we're defining this as S. So all of this then is working with our IP version 4 TCP connection. We can then attempt to connect, so sconnect. Now sconnect is expecting one argument. So we open up then the parentheses, but we've got another set of parentheses because this is our tuple. It's really a list. So we've got host and port being provided as a hard-coded tuple or list. We close off our double parentheses, and then we can specify our data variable is going to be the first 1024 bytes that we receive. And then we can go through and return our data variable. So all of this has been worked properly. We'll get our data variable and make sure that we encode it with UTF-8 so it can be read correctly and strip off any extra characters that we might have. Now, if it hasn't worked, we can then go through and pick up the exception. So we can go through and put except And then we can go through, call our exception as E. And then from here, we can go through and return the exception converted through to a string. So str, parentheses, and E. Now that really is quite a simple function where we're really just looking at making our connection on IP version 4 and connecting through to our host and port. Now, to define that, we can then go through and create our main function. To make sure that if this is imported into another Python script, we can check that we are actually running the script rather than it being imported. And this is quite standard Python code that you should see quite a bit. So if we're executing this code, we will execute inside of our if statement, where we can then go through and put the value of our quote of the day host. At the moment, I'm just putting that variable to be the local host. We can then go through and put our quote of the day port. So these are the parameters we must pass through to our own function. And I'm just putting this as port 17. So the same as we used when we were connecting with Netcat. We can then go through and populate our quote variable, and our quote variable is going to be populated by running our bespoke function getQuoteD, and then passing through to that our quote of the day host and quote of the day port. So the two arguments that are going to be expected by our function. If our quote has been populated properly, we can then go through and print quote of the day, and then probably followed by the actual quote we picked up, which would seem like a good idea. So we can go through and then have our quote of the day, perhaps followed by a colon, and then close off our print function, open up a new print function. So this is going to be printed on 2 lines, and then the value of our quote variable. And of course, then we can cover our else statement by making sure that we print some kind of message saying the quote wasn't available, or whatever we feel like printing back to our users. So we can go through here and print, put our quotes, and then specify failed to get a quote or whatever error message you feel like passing back. But that's it. This is our code. And as I say, this then becomes quite a simple quote of the day client, and then saves us having to worry about the Control-C at the end of Netcat. With our Python code created, we could make it executable, but just for a quick test, I'm going to run it in Python, quoteoftheday.py. So we get then our quote coming back, and you can see I don't have to worry about the Control-C. I just then go through up arrow key, run the code again, and we get a new quote coming back. And in fact, we could continue this for the rest of our life as we go down the rabbit hole of seeing what quotes are available to us.
All that is left to say is thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this, then you are probably sadder than I first thought. For more of this drivel, please subscribe, like and comment to @TheUrbanPenguin.